Flugzeug, Krankenhaus, Schmetterling, Zahnzusatzversicherung. These are some of the words that you may think of or hear around Germany and in German. In terms of their English counterparts, they may come off as pretty aggressive or a little bit harsh. But I'm here to tell you today that German isn't as aggressive or as harsh as you might think it is. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Playing for the People. My name is Jacob. I'm an Australian and I'm living here in this lovely country of Germany. I've been here for about 3 to 4 years playing American football, and over the last 7 to 8 months I've been taking part in learning the language that is German. And today I'm going to talk to you about, is German really that aggressive, or is it really a harsh language? If you've clicked on this video, thank you so much for watching. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for sticking around. If you're not subscribed, I would love to have you as a subscriber. So consider clicking subscribe, joining the family, and if you like the video later on, give it a thumbs up. So, let's get into the video. So as someone who didn't know a lot about Germany before I got here, of course I did think that German was a very harsh or aggressive sounding language. And I feel like we're built to think that through Hollywood movies, through the history of what you learn about the German language outside of Germany. It always comes off as this very sharp, very harsh language to learn or to even speak or listen to. Some of the reasons around that, and I'm not a professional, these are just my daily gatherings of information that I think for myself. I think a lot of the reasons why people think German sounds so harsh or German sounds so aggressive is because of the way that the words are used or the letters in the words are pronounced. Germany uses lots of SCH or CH in their words. You actually never find a German word that has S and H next to each other. They always have SCH. And this comes off sometimes sounding a little bit aggressive and a little bit harsh when you're pronouncing a word like Überraschung. I love that word. Also, some letters that you pronounce in English are pronounced completely different in German. For example, if you've seen my How to Learn German Fast video, you'll know that the J or J sound in English is completely different in German. J in German is pronounced more like a Y in English, so Projekt. And when you put that letter or that pronunciation in front of a KT, a very sharp ending sound, project, which is pretty soft of a word in English, turns into project, which can come off very harsh if you're talking quickly or inside of a working situation. Also, let's not forget the umlauts. Obviously, German is one of the languages that uses umlauts. We don't have them in English, and they change the way you pronounce or say any word that uses them. For example, the word explanation or explain in German uses Erklärung, so it's a little harsher than explain. Explain in English is kind of smooth, kind of soft, even though it has that EX in it, whereas if you switch it over to German, it's a little bit harsh with the Erklärung. Another letter that may come off a little bit harsher in German is the letter W, and that is because it's not really pronounced in the W sense when it comes to English or some other languages. When it comes to W in English, we will normally say would or weather. With Germans, it generally comes off sounding more like a V, like a V. So that's obviously V versus W is a little bit harsher, a little sharper, and that can turn a lot of words into a little bit of a sharper sense. So when you combine those with the SCH sound, the W sound, and some umlauts, because German obviously has these long, beautiful words containing all of these things. For example, what is one of the ones I used in my funny German words? I think it was wettbewerbsfähig, if I said that right. If you pronounce that correctly, which I normally can't, it can be a lot harsher or more aggressive in a normal sentence as the English counterpart. And like I said, this is just my findings. This is not scientific. This is just me explaining why you might think that the German language is harsh or aggressive. To be completely honest, I think that the German language is not harsh or aggressive at all, especially after learning it for 8-9 months. When you learn the language and you get used to the pronunciations, you get used to the way things are formulated in German, I still have a couple of things that I'm not really comfortable with. I'm still struggling with my Z sound, which is more of a TS, and I always still struggle with my IE or EI. But those are obviously things that you're going to have to go through when learning a new language. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, Zahnzusatzversicherung. Versicherung is insurance. Insurance in English. Fair, because obviously in German the V comes off more like an F. So the W is more a V, the V is more an F. So it's fair. Sicherung. So that sich can really harshen up that word. And these are just some small examples in this large, huge language of German, because they obviously have many different words, that are used in different circumstances than we have in English. So after learning German for 8 to 9 months, I don't really think it's that harsh or aggressive of a language. It is very hard to kind of wrap your head around sometimes. It is also very hard sometimes when you haven't pronounced these words correctly ever or for a long period of time. It is very hard to get the pronunciations right. So you might feel like you're saying something more harsh, or you might feel like someone's saying something harsher towards you, but it's just because you haven't been around that language or around that pronunciation. Also because German does rely a whole lot on the pronunciation of the words and these sounds, like the CH sound or the SCH or the Umlauts or the TS with the Z. All these things are heavily relied on in the German language, so you need to make sure you take some of that very well-known German efficiency and do it the right way. And when you're doing it the right way, normally it's very efficient, it's very blunt, it's very to the point, it's very German, and that is why it can sometimes sound a little bit aggressive. But really, why do I think German gets a bad rap when it comes to how harsh a language or aggressive of a language it may sound? I think it really just comes down to how efficient they are, whether it be in work life, daily life, or in the language. German is a very efficient language that, when you sometimes translate into English, can be very literal. If you go back to my 10 funniest German words video from last year, basically a lot of those translations were literal translations into English words. Most of the time they did come off sounding rather harsh. But the more I've got to know the German language, the more I've found it to be kind of cool and kind of interesting and anything but aggressive and harsh. I think when you dive deep into the language and you start to adapt yourself to the way it is and you start speaking with other people, it becomes a lot less abrasive. It's more smooth, it's more flüssig, as the Germans would say, especially when you're communicating in the same language. You don't notice these things as much. So if you think that German might be a little bit harsh or a little bit aggressive, just ask yourself, how much have you really dived into the language of German? And how much do you really know about the way things are and why they are like that? Obviously, French is the language of love, but some people might consider French to be an aggressive sounding language. Not me, for example, but some people. Or Italian, for example. Italian isn't a harsh sounding language, but it is spoken relatively quickly, and that may come off as harsh to some people. It's really up to you. But definitely don't put German on the pedestal of harsh or aggressive sounding languages until you do some research for yourself, because I myself never thought I'd be learning this language in a million years. It's grown on me, and it's showing me just how interesting and awesome of a language it can be. Just like the people that live in Germany. Aber Leute, ich hoffe, ihr habt dieses Video genossen und es hat Spaß gemacht, mich über meinen Gedanken über die deutsche Sprache zu sprechen. Basically, that means, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and me sharing my thoughts about the German language. I don't know whether it came off sounding aggressive or whether I said it 100% to the German benchmark of speaking, but it's really up to you. And that's what this video is about. It's really your decision what you think about the language or a country or me, for example, sitting here watching me speak about this subject. You could hate it, you could love it, you could think I sound aggressive, boring, monotone. It doesn't really matter. What I think, it really just comes down to what you think. And on that note, if you think that this video was fun and you enjoyed me talking about the German language, feel free to leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a sit down and talk about the language, because lately I have been so involved in the German language, but I haven't really spoken too much about how good of a language it can be. I've kind of just spoken about my struggles and difficulties through learning the language. So I hope this was a bit of a refresh, a little bit of a different view on how I think German is and how much I like the language. But guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed yet again. My name is Jacob and this is Punning for the People. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.